Welcome to Reset 676. I'm Chandra Mel, and I am narrating the works researched and written by Marek Japiewski. Permission has been granted by the author to narrate this for a podcast. Please note that everything I will be saying in this podcast is directly quoted from his works unless otherwise stated. Meteor. It is worth mentioning here an unusual phenomenon that took place on August 10th, 1972. That is, during the Great Geomagnetic Storm. On that day, a meteor appeared in the sky, which did not fall on Earth, but headed back into space. This is a very rare phenomenon, which has been observed only a few times so far. Measuring between 3 and 14 meters, a fireball passed within 57 kilometers, or 35 miles, of the Earth's surface. It entered the Earth's atmosphere at a speed of 15 kilometers per second, or 9.3 miles per second, over Utah in the United States of America. Then passed northwards and exited the atmosphere over Alberta, Canada. I think this phenomenon may have something to do with magnetism. The incident happened during a geomagnetic storm. Besides, the meteor bounced off the atmosphere in the Canadian territory, just in the vicinity of the Earth's magnetic North Pole, where the Earth's magnetic field is strongest. It is possible that the meteor was magnetized and has been repelled by the Earth's magnetic field. Timeline of Cataclysms. Now let's check one by one what happened in every period of cataclysms. Once again, I give the years in which the greatest severity of disasters is expected. 1348, 1400, 1452, 1504, 1556, 1608, 1660, 1712, 1764, 1816, 1868, 1920, 1972, and 2024. It turns out that most of these years are associated with some great catastrophe. 1347 to 1351 AD. The Black Death pandemic kills 75 to 200 million people. The greatest intensity of the epidemic was in the year 1348. 1348 AD, January 25th, the Great Earthquake in Friuli in northern Italy kills over 40,000 people. 1452 to 1453 AD, an eruption with the magnitude of VEI 7 of Kauai volcano in Vanuatu releases more sulfate than any other event in the last 700 years. 1505 AD, June 6th, Low Mustang earthquake kills about 30% of the Nepalese population. It was probably the second deadliest earthquake in history. 1555 AD, September 23rd, the Grand Harbor of Malta tornado kills at least 600 people. It was the deadliest tornado in terms of world population. In the same month, the earth shook in Kashmir. 1556 AD, February 2nd, the deadliest earthquake in history occurs with the epicenter of Shanxi Province, China. 1815 AD, April 10th, the eruption of the Tambora volcano in Indonesia. Perhaps the most powerful volcanic eruption? Perhaps the most powerful volcanic eruption in the last few thousand years, and the most tragic in history, with about 100,000 casualties. It caused the volcanic winter of 1816, the so-called Year Without a Summer. 1868 AD, January 30th, a large meteorite fell near Pultusk in Poland. This phenomenon was visible from a large part of Europe, from Estonia to Hungary, and from Germany to Belarus. The meteoroid exploded in the Earth's atmosphere, shattering into as many as 70,000 tiny pieces. The total mass of the fragments found is 9 tons, and in this respect it was the second largest recorded meteorite fall, after Sokote, Alin, in 1947, which was 23 tons. The Pultusk meteorite belongs to the common chondrites, which have a high iron content. Scientists have determined that it came from the asteroid belt located between Mars and Jupiter. 1868 AD, August 13th. The Arica earthquake shakes southern Peru with a maximum Mercalli intensity of XI, or 11, which is extreme, causing a destructive 16-meter-high tsunami that hits Hawaii and New Zealand. Estimates of the death toll vary greatly from 25,000 to 70,000. 1920 AD. The Haiwan earthquake in China causes a landslide. 273,400 people die. It was the third most tragic earthquake in history, and also the most tragic landslide in history. 1921 AD. May 13th to 15th. The most intense geomagnetic storm of the 20th century. 1972 AD, August 2nd to 11th. A huge geomagnetic storm, one of the largest ever recorded. And again in 1972 on August 10th, a great meteor appears in the sky. 2023 through 2025. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Summation. Most of the great cataclysms happened in a 2-year period just before the end of the 52-year cycle. It was during this short period that the following happened: the biggest pandemic in history, the 4 largest earthquakes, 2 of the 3 most powerful volcanic eruptions, both great geomagnetic storms that occurred beyond the maximum of solar activity, and the relatively deadliest tornado. The probability that all these catastrophes coincide only by chance in this period is 1 in many millions. This is basically impossible. We can be sure that the greatest cataclysms occur cyclically. It is worth noting that the cyclicity does not apply to small cataclysms. During the period of cataclysms, also large meteors appeared more frequently than usual. One of them touched the atmosphere and flew off into space in search of further adventures. The other exploded in the atmosphere and broke into tens of thousands of pieces. The event, which was the earliest in relation to the 52-year cycle, was the eruption of Tambora in 1815, which occurred 3 years and 7 months before the end of the cycle. The latest was the New York Railroad superstorm in 1921, which happened 1 year and 5 months before the end of the cycle. The Native Americans waited this year and a half to be sure before they celebrated the beginning of safe time. So we can conclude that the period of natural disasters lasts about 2 years and 2 months. The Black Death was a catastrophe of the same cycle, but of a much larger scale. A significant part of humanity died out then. The epidemic was accompanied by a series of natural disasters. The first one happened 3 years and 6 months before the end of the cycle, and the last 1 year and 6 months before the end. This means that the time when the series of cataclysms occurred coincides very accurately with the period of cataclysms. The Maya had a well-developed astronomy and were long aware of the existence of the cataclysmic cycle. However, modern astronomy is undoubtedly even better developed. There is nothing that can remain hidden from today's scientists. Therefore, the secret of cyclical cataclysms is certainly well known to them. The difference between the two civilizations is that the American Indian elite shared their knowledge with the society, while with us, valuable knowledge is available only to the rulers. Ordinary people know only what they need to work efficiently and pay taxes. Knowledge about cyclical cataclysms is kept from us. Planet X? If there is a cycle of cataclysms, then there must also be a cause for it. Phenomena such as solar flares and meteorite falls suggest that the causes of the cycle should be sought outside the Earth. The cosmic source of the cycle is also indicated by its unusual regularity, which is probably only found in space. The planets orbit the Sun in regular cycles. Thus, there must be something in the cosmos that regularly appears and interacts with the Sun and Earth. The American Indians believed that the gods were responsible for the occurrence of cataclysms. However, in ancient times, the gods were identified with the planets. For example, in Greek mythology, the most important of the gods was Zeus. His counterpart in Roman mythology was the god Jupiter. Both gods were identified with the largest planet, Jupiter. Therefore, I think it can be assumed that the Indians referred to the planets when speaking of gods causing cataclysms. There are catastrophic theories that assume the existence of an additional unknown planet, Planet X, which is supposed to circle the Sun in a highly elongated orbit. Assuming that such a planet actually exists, a thesis can be put forward that every 52 years it approaches the center of the solar system. When a celestial body with a large mass comes close to the Earth, then it begins to affect our planet with its gravity, causing cataclysms. The great force of attraction acts on the tectonic plates and causes them to start shifting. This could explain such a frequent occurrence of earthquakes during periods of cataclysms. Volcanic eruptions are closely related to earthquakes. Both of these phenomena occur most frequently at the junction of tectonic plates. The pressure increase in magma chambers caused by the attraction of Planet X may certainly trigger a volcanic eruption. Planet X not only affects the Earth but the entire solar system. By its influence on the Sun, it somehow causes solar flares. Planet X also attracts smaller objects orbiting the Sun, such as meteoroids and asteroids. Millions of rocks of various sizes orbit in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. That is where the Poltusk meteorite came from. Normally, asteroids calmly orbit the Sun, but when Planet X appears nearby, it starts attracting them. Some meteoroids get knocked out of their trajectory and fly in different directions through the solar system. Some of them strike the Earth. This would explain the frequent meteorite falls during the period of cataclysms. Planet X interacts with the Earth and the solar system cyclically, every 52 years. Its impact lasts each time for about 2 years. This is where the 2-year period of cataclysms comes from. This is a very imperfect and incomplete theory, but for the first chapter, it should be sufficient. Later, I will come back to this issue and try to thoroughly investigate the cause of cyclical disasters. This has been Chapter 1, the 52-year cycle of cataclysms. In the next episode, we will begin Part 1 of Chapter 2, the 13th cycle of cataclysms. Thank you for joining in this narration. I'm Chandra Mo, and this is Reset 676.